Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex or Nuzz here, and today we're going to be looking at the top 10 most expensive boss drops in RuneScape 3 in 2021. Now, before we start this video, I want to give some criteria to this. I will not be counting untradeable drops, so things that can't be traded or need to be combined with other drops aren't going to count for this video, such as telos orbs and things like that. These are drops that can be gotten and sold immediately, which is what will be included. I will however give an honorable mention at the end where I cover all of these items. So if a boss drop is also not soloable, I will be giving you the split as well, just so you get the general idea of it. And before anyone comments, you forgot the Frozen Core of Lang, you forgot telos orbs, just remember these are tradable drops only, as the price of untradables requiring other things could be arguable about what their true value is. So all these prices are based on November and the most recent traded prices. If you like videos like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss another one, and make sure to stick around to the end to see all the honorable mentioned untradable drops. So let's first get started with item number 10. So starting us off at number 10 is the Eldritch Crossbow pieces, which are combined to make the Eldritch Crossbow, which is a tier 92 range weapon with a very powerful special attack. The Eldritch Crossbow is around 2.8 billion GP as of now, and the pieces are around 900 mil to 1 bill each, depending on which ones you're buying. And as of now, the highest price Eldritch Crossbow piece is a little over 1 billion GP. These are dropped from the Ambassador in the Shadow Reef Elite Dungeon, and it's a 1 in 55 drop rate for any of these pieces while soloing. This drop is a pretty massive drop and was worth even more a few months ago when range hit its peak. So moving on to number 9, we have a very interesting item, and definitely the odd one out on this list, which is the Abomination Cape. Now this is a cape which is dropped very rarely from the Abomination boss. Now I did a video on this boss earlier this month calculating the GP per hour, and it's definitely one of the most surprising items that'll be on this list, as you wouldn't really expect an item such as this one to be here, and you might not even know that the Abomination boss exists, because this boss is actually not killed very often, and the cape being a 1 in 11,570 drop rate makes it extremely rare to get. And since the Abomination doesn't have a collection log, there's not many people that go for this cape, which brings its massive rarity and price up to over 1 billion GP, but it is also very rarely sold, so there's not much data on the price. So next, coming in at number 8, we have the Imperium Core, which is a tier 92 magic offhand orb that is dropped from Nex Angel of Death. Now this is our first drop that's from a group boss, and while this orb has a drop rate of 1 in 1,988 per person, most people go to AOD in 7-man teams, making this drop a massive 1 billion GP drop. And if you were doing a 7-man team, your split would be about 147 mil, unless of course you're doing free-for-all, then of course you'd be in for a massive payday. These items recently went up since magic has gotten so good. We'll talk about more magic items for sure in this video, but yes, magic has gotten good again, which made a lot of these items go up in price compared to 6 months ago. Next, bring us to number 7. This takes us to the boss Telos the Warden. Telos, which is a very difficult boss that has a streaking and enraged mechanic. Most notably, he drops orbs, which can be used with a dormant weapon to make the tier 92 version. However, the orbs are untradable, but dormant items are tradable, and most of the dormants aren't worth very much. But with ranged being very strong as a combat style, the Saren Godbow has gotten extremely expensive. This puts the dormant Saren Godbow as the top Telos drop, coming in at 1.375 bill recently sold, just for the dormant part of the Godbow. The drop rate varies depending on your enrage and streak, and it can be wildly different depending on how you kill Telos. I actually remember getting one of these dormant Saren Godbows in like 2018, and I sold it for like 50 mil. Oh, how the times have changed. So coming up at number 6, we go to RuneScape's newest boss, which is Zuck. And number 6 is the new pieces of the tier 95 2H sword, the Exekil. Now these pieces are only dropped from hard mode Zuck, and it takes 3 pieces to create the tier 95 2H sword. As of now, each piece is going for around 1380 mil each. And the drop rate for these items are currently unknown. We do know, however, that Jagex did recently buff the drop rates of these pieces, so it'll be interesting to see how the price changes over time. Nonetheless, this is still an amazing tradable drop to get from hard mode Zuck, and that's why it ranks number 6 on our list. Coming in at number 5, this brings us to Solok. Now, Solok drops the Blightbound crossbows, specifically the offhand Blightbound crossbow, which has a drop rate of 1 in 400 and goes for a whopping 1.4 billion GP. Mostly this is because people use this crossbow as a switch for greater ricochet, which is why the offhand is number 5 on this list, and the main hand does not make the list at all. If you're duoing at Solok, you're looking at a 700 mil split, and this is a very sought after drop to get from any boss. At number 4, we are taking a trip back to Next Angel of Death, but this time we're looking at the Wand of the Appraisal drop. This tier 92 magic wand has skyrocketed in price again since magic got buffed recently, and currently goes for 1.589 billion GP, which again would mean a 227 mil split in a 7-man team, or a huge payday for you if you're doing a free-for-all. This drop rate is 1 in 1988 per person, just like the Imperium Core, and it's safe to say that next AOD is where the money is at. Coming in at our number 3 spot is Greater Ricochet, and this is the Greater Ricochet Codex, which is dropped from the boss Raksha. Now, Greater Ricochet is a very overpowered ability, and this is the first ability that made it on this list, but trust me, it won't be the last. This goes for a huge price tag of 1.74 bill and is around a 1 in 500 drop rate based on the Runescape Wiki's estimates. Since Raksha is soloable, you are looking at one of the biggest drops possible in RuneScape 3. Alright, so number 2 takes us back to Zuck, but this time it's another ability codex, the Magma Tempest Codex. This unlocks the Magma Tempest ability, which, like Greater Ricochet, is an insanely overpowered ability, even more overpowered than Greater Ricochet for the magic style, which goes for 1.9 billion GP as of recording this video. Now, even though the drop rates for normal mode and hard mode Zuck, which is where you can get this codex, were increased, this codex has remained steady and has even gone up a bit in price. This could be attributed to how many people want this absolutely amazing ability and just the huge demand for it, which makes it a worthy runner-up on our list. Finally, in our number 1 spot, we have the Fractured Staff of Armadyl pieces that are dropped from Karapek. Now, the Fractured Staff of Armadyl is the new tier 95 staff that has buffed the magic combat style into the top spot in the combat triangle. This, along with Magma Tempest, makes magic super OP, and this is dropped in a 3 tradable parts. Now, the parts vary in price, but even after they were buffed in drop rate, they are still selling for around 2 billion GP each for the cheapest piece and 2.5 billion GP for the most expensive one. These are received in hard mode only, and the drop rate is currently unknown. Since these are soloable, this is the most expensive solo boss drop you can get in RuneScape, and having recently got one myself in duo, it is such a thrill and a great item to top our list. So those are the top 10 boss drops in RuneScape based on how much they go for in price. Now, of course, we're going to look at the boss drops that I didn't include that are untradeable, that could have possibly been somewhere on this list or lower down. So I'm going to do some honorable mentions as well and kind of estimate the prices of these untradeable drops. So let's take a look at them now. Alright, so finally we're going to talk about some of the honorable mentions or untradeable drops. So these are all items that I didn't include because their value could be argued based on a few things. Now, some of these weren't expensive enough to even make the list if they weren't untradeable, like telos orbs. Each orb is about 160 mil each after you combine them with a dormant weapon, and they are untradeable. And then the Araxite Fang is another honorable mention. You need a spider leg to make it into a scythe, and it's around 100 180 mil. Now the only one that could have made this list is the Frozen Core of Lang dropped by the Archglacier, which would have been in the number 10 spot, tied with the Eldritch crossbow pieces. The tier 95 weapon that you can make with the Frozen Core of Lang goes for around 1 billion GP. However, you do need 10 Dark Nylas to make the tier 95, and those Nylas have an actual kind of price of around 5 mil each or so based on the tier 85 price, so they're not too much. So you'd make around 950 mil from the Core of Lang. However, there are a lot of people that have a few Cores of Langs but don't have any Nylas, and there's a lot of people like me who have a bunch of Nylas but don't have a Core of Lang, so it can kind of be debatable which each is worth. Is the Frozen Core of Lang worth a ton? Are the Nylas worth this much? Is the Frozen Core of Lang worth this much? I personally think the Frozen Core of Lang is the hardest part to get up the tier 95 and probably makes up the majority of that 1 billion price. However, this can be debatable, and of course it's an untradeable drop, which is why I didn't include it in the official list, but I needed to mention it here along with these other items. So again, if there's anything I forgot, feel free to let me know. Basically every item here was about 1 bill or above. These are boss drops that are tradable. These aren't like the Hazelmere Signet Ring or anything like that. These are unique boss drops, no dies from clues. So let me know. There may be something I forgot, but I tried to dig into every boss, make a spreadsheet, and look at all the prices. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So I actually made a video kind of similar to this before, but it was actually about the most expensive drops throughout RuneScape history. So if you want to take a trip back in the past and look at what was the most expensive drop in 2016, 2017, 2018, I think it was from like 2011 to 2021, then I'll link the video at the end of this video and in the description if you want to get more of your daily dose of expensive boss drops. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. This took me a bit to put together, but I thought it was an interesting one, so I'll see you all in the next video.